Texas lawmakers caught in a battle over a voting reform bill. Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Monday threatening to cut the legislative pay for lawmakers and their staff after Democrats walked out of the state capitol on Sunday, effectively blocking the passage of the sweeping reform bill. But this last-ditch effort to stop the vote may only temporarily stall it. Joining me now is Texas Congressman Brian Babin. Congressman, good evening to you. This reminds me of the situation that we saw in Georgia. It seems to me that there's a misunderstanding of what actually is in the bill. So I'd like to review some of this with you. On early voting, the liberal narrative is that the bill makes it difficult to vote early. The fact is, the bill generally requires early voting for at least 9 hours per day between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Let me read you one more. The liberal narrative is that the bill prevents voting by mail. The fact is, the bill continues to allow voting by mail, though with new restrictions on unsolicited applications. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. The fictions that you are mentioning are simply the same argument points that Democrats have had now for a long time. This is, of course, on the state level. The state Democrats have fled in the middle of the night to keep us from getting a quorum there in our state House of Representatives, and simply just to keep us on the same path and not fix these voting problems that we've experienced. And we had nightmares back during November of last year. Millions of Americans felt like they had been disenfranchised. State governments were supposed to be, the state legislatures were the only ones who were supposed to be able to change state law. Judges couldn't do it. Single statewide election official, a governor, a secretary of state, they were not supposed to be able to do it. Only the legislatures. And so this needs to be fixed.
Right.
Millions of Americans felt like we had an irregular, nominally filled election in the last presidential election, and many states are trying to fix this. Texas is one of them, and Democrats are standing in the way.
I'm really glad that you brought this up, because this is a conversation that I've reported on extensively, and every time I do it, the liberal media kind of will go after me, because I said that we had an election that was unprecedented before. We had a crisis on our hands. States had to do what they had to do, and so we did that. But now, as we're looking back, it doesn't mean because we implemented certain rules because of a pandemic that occurs once every 100 years that all those rules have to remain in place. It means that we have to go back to the system and tweak things a little. And again, I ask you, what's wrong with that?
Jackie, you are right on the money. It is our right and our duty to make sure that our American electorate, the American people, feel like that they are enfranchised to cast votes and to choose our own leaders. That is the miracle of the American experiment. This is what our government, our democratic republic, is all about. And if we don't trust our election process, then we're in trouble. People will just sit home. Yeah. We saw that happen in Georgia in those senatorial elections, and the various states where a lot of these things happen in Georgia and Pennsylvania and other states. Their legislatures are going back and trying to fix this thing, and the state of Texas is one of those to do this. Unfortunately, the Democrats are playing partisanship and left, and we were unable to get a quorum.
Yeah.
We've seen it on the U.S. level, and where I serve in the U.S. House, H.R. 1. This is a Democrat takeover of the entire election process of our country. And the Democrats in the various states, this is what they want to have this implemented across the country. They don't want the various states to make changes.
It certainly would bolster their position, and what you're saying makes a lot of sense. We could talk for hours about this, but unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much. Great to see you tonight.
Thank you, Jackie. God bless.
God bless.